questions and kind of talk about this is how it works in band. And of course, many of you here, almost all of you, will end up at Grove City High School down the road, and that's super awesome. We look forward to that here. Before we even get started, where are our Hayes graduates out here? Raise your hand. Where are the Hayes? There we go, Hayes graduates. Awesome. Thanks for being here. All right. First things first, you didn't come to hear me talking to you the whole time, so let's get the band playing. They're just going to play for you our fight song rally. If you've been to any football game or really anything we've ever done, you've heard us play this. And this is just all the instruments together and what it sounds like. Take it away, band. Rally. There we go. Thank you, band. All right. And I promise you it will sound just like that on the first day of 6th grade. No, it will not. I can't say that out loud. It won't. But that's where it's headed. This is why we're here. This is like the long-range goal. 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade year is kind of like get them trained up. We teach them the things. They learn their primary instrument. Some of them will have a chance to learn a secondary instrument that's an extension of what they start on, and we'll talk about that as we go down the road. We're going to start over here with our highest instruments. So we'll go from the highest instruments, which are the smallest ones, all the way down to the lowest and largest instruments, and talk about what it means for your kids. So step on up to flutes here. Hold up that flute so the parents can see. The flute there on the left is a piccolo. That is not an instrument that a 6th grader would start. We only start them on flutes. With most instruments, the best kids on that instrument, you usually get the chance to play the next version of it, something that we'll need in middle school and high school band. So for flute, that logical progression is the piccolo. Almost every instrument has like a secondary cousin that's very important to the band, and they get that chance later if they're doing well on the primary instrument. So flutes blow the air across the top of the head joint, much like a pop bottle type of a thing, and then they can play very fast and very high because the keys don't move very far. So it's just really easy to play very fast, and they're going to demonstrate for you the sound of the flute right now. The flutes, everybody. Thank you, flutes. And they very much would start on the similar instrument to what the 3 flutes on the right are, almost identical to that in 6th grade. Up next, we have our clarinets. Want to step forward their clarinets, and could you turn and face the back of the instrument to the audience there? This is part of the woodwind family, just like the flutes, called woodwinds because there is literally a piece of wood at the top of the instrument. When they blow across that wood, it vibrates, and that's actually what makes the sound. Just like the flute, the keys don't move very far, so they can play very fast notes. They can play up in the very high range, but a clarinet can also get relatively low as well. We'll go ahead and have the clarinets demonstrate for you their sound as well. The clarinets, everybody. Thank you, clarinets. That is the exact instrument your child will start on in 6th grade in clarinet. I will say that is one section we are looking for a lot of students in. Clarinet's one of the most important instruments in the woodwind choir, and we always need a large number in that section. Moving right along is our saxophones, also part of the woodwind. Step forward their saxes, and if you can kind of hold up the instrument from the back as well. Just like the clarinet, we have a reed, but because it is a larger instrument, it's a larger reed, and it's a lower sound, but it's played very much the same way. It's the same type of mouth shape to play a sax as it is to play a clarinet. Just like the clarinet, the keys, again, not very big, don't move very far, they can play very fast, but as it's the largest woodwind instrument, it's also the lowest. Saxophone and clarinet also have sister instruments. In clarinet, we have what's called a bass clarinet. It's about yay tall from ground up. And then if they get really good, we have what's called a contrabass clarinet. It's that tall from ground, and you have to sit down on a stool to play it. Saxophones, as you see here, we have a larger sax on the left, a tenor sax. As the students get older, we look for kids to move from alto sax, which is the two you see on the left. That's what they would start on in 6th grade band. As they get older, they'll have a chance to play tenor and also what we call bari sax, which is the largest, lowest saxophone. And we need all of those in band later in life. But in 6th grade, they will start on alto. Saxophones, go ahead and take it away. Our jazzy saxophones, everybody. And that makes up the woodwind section of 6th grade band. Flute, clarinet, sax. It is those three choices. And again, on sax, it would just be the alto sax there on the left. Now, moving on to our brass section. Trumpets, go ahead and step forward. This is the highest instrument in the brass section. If you want to face the trumpet at them so they can see the mouthpiece, basically a little circle, they vibrate their lips and they blow air. I'll give you my quick public service announcement right now. When I was a 6th grader, I really wanted to be a trumpet. I thought, this is for me, I'm going to be a trumpet. Sat down to do the fitting, nothing came out. Couldn't do it. 5 minutes later, still nothing's coming out. And it's because my lips just weren't right. Like, they were too big, my face was too big, and I couldn't get my lips the right size to make the sound. And I realized later that tuba is where I belong, and that fit me great. And once I found that, loved it, and band was awesome from that point forward. So for each one of you here, part of what this journey is discovering what's the right instrument for your kid, what's going to fit their face, what's going to fit their ear. And that's a really important part of getting them started in band, is finding that instrument. So trumpets got that small mouthpiece, and they vibrate their lips and they blow air through it. They got 3 buttons and 3 buttons only. You might think, well, that sounds easy. Very much not. They got to be able to hear the notes because they can play a variety of notes with just 1 button, whereas the woodwinds, pretty much, if you push down the right combination, it almost always comes out right the first time, most of the time. Not so much with the brass instruments. Trumpets are going to go ahead and demonstrate for you their song now. Trumpets. The trumpets, everybody. They just came up with that like yesterday, and they're going to drop this as a surprise. Good job, trumpets. All right, up next we have the horns. Now, this is very much not the instrument that a horn player would start with. This is a marching band version of a French horn. You know the French horn is the circular instrument that actually faces behind you when you play it. This is a specialty instrument in band. We do not start 6th graders on day 1 on horn. They would play either trumpet, baritone, trombone, maybe even tuba. Actually, we'll talk about tuba in a moment. But this is not something we start with. It requires a student to have an outstanding musical ear, able to hear pitch. The horn is the hardest instrument to play to get the right note to come out just because of how it's designed. So we have to find the right person. What we do is we'll start your child on one of the other primary instruments, and then we're looking every day in band to see who's doing well, who's got that ear, who's figuring stuff out. Those students will be given the opportunity to switch into French horn mid-year, usually around January or so. So this is a specialty instrument, and we usually only have about 4 or so students a year that do it. But we have our mellophones here, which is what these are called. They have a similar sound to French horn, but they've just been straightened out so they can be played outside. Here are the French horns. with the universal theme song, the French horns. All right. Up next, we have the baritones. Baritones, can you flip those around and show them the mouthpiece? And then trumpets, can you show them the two again so we can kind of compare? You can very clearly see the size of the trumpet mouthpiece versus the size of the baritone mouthpiece. If your child has maybe fuller lips, this might be a better fit for them, just because the trumpet, sometimes it's hard to get the lips the right size. So baritones, just like the other brass instruments, they vibrate the lips, they blow the air, they use 3 buttons, and they just have a lower, deeper sound because of their size. It's a very warm instrument, also quite important to the band. Baritones, take it away. The baritone. All right, up next we have the trombone. So this is the exact same mouthpiece as a baritone. Same size, same everything. Obviously the major difference is the trombones use a slide. They don't actually have buttons. They have 7 different positions that they are taught, and those positions correlate to the buttons that the other players have. So they can do all the same stuff, but a little bit different. The one thing a trombone can do that nobody else can do, Mr. Roberts is going to demonstrate, and if you have a trombone that you know your kid's going to play this instrument, I'm sorry that you're going to hear this a lot in the beginning. Sir? If you have pets at home, I'm so sorry, okay? But it's a lot of fun, and trombones, if baritones are like the warm part of low brass, trombones are the powerhouse of low brass. They say back in the day the trumpets took down the walls of Jericho. Not true. It was actually more like a trombone that took down the walls of Jericho because they couldn't bend the metal that small back in those days. So the trombone's very loud, it's a little bit cutting, but it's a super awesome part of the band, and we need real smart people to play it to find those positions. Trombones, take it away. The trombone. And again, just like most of the other instruments, they all have kind of a sister instrument that goes with it. This trombone is called a bass trombone, and you heard that kind of lower sound that was coming from this. As students get older and we find the right kid, we'll usually pick a couple to learn how to play the bass trombone. Works the same in any other way, just has a lower, deeper sound because of how it's made. Thank you, Ethan. All right, our biggest, largest, lowest instrument, and yes, I'm biased because I play this, but it's also the truth. No band is great unless the bass voice is awesome. If you don't have a good bottom to the band, nobody wants to hear it. Tuba is one of the most important instruments we have. Just like the horn, this is a specialty instrument. We will start the kids most often on either trombone or baritone, and they will be the ones that tend to move down to tuba. We'll look for the best 3 or 4 who have that ability to hear and who kind of like that lower sound and that ability to play with a relaxed face, and we'll move them to tuba usually mid-year around January as well. So we're going to have the tuba step up here and kind of just demonstrate for you the sound of their instrument. No, this is not a 6th grade tuba. This is a sousaphone for marching band. Your child will have one that actually is much smaller and can be held well sat down, not worn on their body. Take it away, tubas. The tubas. Thank you, tubas. All right, we have one final section to show you, and of course this is the one section that does not use wind to play. All the other instruments use air. These percussion students use their hands to strike an object. The thing about percussion that's unique is that they will be learning 2 instruments in 6th grade band when they start. They'll be learning a version of the snare drum, which is this instrument right here, although it will not be nearly this size. It's a much smaller version that they'll have at home. They also have a practice pad to work on. And then they'll also have a belt kit, which basically is a miniature looking piano that they strike with a mallet. They will learn both of those. As they go through school and through the other years of band, percussion has nearly a limitless amount of instruments in it. It's just the nature of the section. So as they go through, they learn more and more in that way. Because of that, as you can imagine, percussion is also a specialty section in the band. We only take so many students there. At this point, they would have already met Mr. Riesenberg for a placement or audition, and he's right here. And if they had not seen Mr. Riesenberg, if we have anyone left, I think tomorrow morning we're going to take care of that, and your child will be able to have a tryout with Mr. Riesenberg. Generally, I say we take between 6 and 10 students in percussion. And again, it comes down to the kid that's got a good sense of time, rhythm, can move their hands, the whole pat the stomach, rub the head type of a thing, and not have an issue with that. All right, percussion, could you go ahead and demonstrate the variety of instruments we have for people today? The percussion section. All right, well, thank you very much. We're going to play one more song for you with the full band to get all the instruments back together. Yes, I'm getting to that. That was my very next comment, but thank you. We also have a couple extra people here. We have 2 color guard members on either side. We'd like to bring them along. No, that's not something we start in 6th grade because they're not a wind musician or a percussionist, but they're an integral part to what we do in the fall. And we have found that some students who maybe do choir or orchestra and feel that that's their place to be, then pick up color guard later in high school, and they get to be part of the band and do all the same things that the band kids do. And that's a lot of fun. This year, we are going to Disney World with the band. We do that every 4 years. We've been to California in the Rose Parade. The trips are a huge part of being in the band experience, and quite frankly, are a lot of fun, and the kids very much enjoy that. It's a great activity. We also have here a field commander. His name is Connor. He actually plays the bassoon, which is another specialty instrument that we do much later in the year. And he is one of our field commanders. He helps direct the band, but like everyone else, he plays an instrument, and during the regular part of the year, he's doing what all these kids behind me are doing. So we're gonna go ahead and play our Hey Cheer for you now. Audience participation would be awesome on this one, the Hey, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up with a couple other announcements and get Mr. Reimert out here. Take it away, band. Let's hear it for the